The New York Mets have signed a starting pitcher as they have agreed to terms on a 2-year, $28 million deal with left-handed pitcher Sean Manaea. This video I'm going to give my thoughts on Sean Manaea, the fit he is for the New York Mets in their rotation, and what other moves I feel that the Mets need to make in this offseason if they want to be ready for the 2024 season. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button out of the ballpark. Slide to the comment section. What are your thoughts on the Sean Manaea deal? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What other pitchers should the Mets be targeting? And if you're new here and want to make my day, you can subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated. And if you're subscribed already, you know the drill. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger, tell a giant, tell a padre, whoever it is. Always appreciate the support I get from you guys. So if I can be completely honest, I actually woke up to this notification and I was up late because I was working on a video that's coming out this Wednesday. It's a big video I'm very excited about. But when I first read it, I thought it said Mets signed Martinez. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Mets got JD Martinez. Let's go. We got a DH. But then when I looked below it, it said 2 years. I was like, oh, they signed him for 2 years. And then when I looked at it again, I was like, oh, Manaea. Okay, that makes a lot more sense because Sean Manaea being 31 years old, about to turn 32, compared to JD Martinez, who's getting close to 40, made a lot more sense for this to be a 2-year deal. Now, one of the interesting things about this deal is that, yes, it is a 2-year deal, but it does have a player option in the second season. So if Sean Manaea has a fantastic year for the Mets, he actually can opt out of this deal and then look for a multi-year deal where he gets more money somewhere else, or maybe he ends up staying with the Mets. Sean Manaea is someone that I have been talking about a little bit. I felt that he was one of the better fits in the free agent starting rotation market just because of his age mostly. I felt that you could get him on a short-term deal, a guy who's around 31, 32, compared to trying to get someone who's a lot older or having to give out 5 years to 6 years to guys who, yes, they had good seasons, but I think overall were not worth top of the rotation kind of money. And Sean Manaea is a fascinating guy because, yes, he did finish the year with not a great 4.44 ERA, but in the second half of the season, Sean Manaea worked with Driveline, and for those that don't know, Driveline is somewhere that a lot of pitchers have gone to and found better results, particularly with their velocity. And the same happened with Sean Manaea. He actually ended up throwing harder, and he also added a sweeper, and that pitch ended up helping him out, and he had a much better second half. First half of last season, Sean Manaea had a 5.49 ERA, and in the second half, he actually had a 3.43 ERA. So that kind of gives you a better feel of how he was able to get quite a bit better in that second half. You know, that first earned run average is he's kind of a bad pitcher, and then the second one he actually turns out pretty good. So, well, hopefully that really kind of translates over into the next season. Again, I am putting a lot of stock in David Stearns knowing what he's doing as far as being able to evaluate pitchers, identify ones that he feels he can get the most out of, and then turn them into very quality pitchers for the Mets. It's what he did his whole tenure in Milwaukee, so we really hope that he could do it this year as well. And now the Mets do have at least enough pitchers to make a starting rotation. Obviously, you have Kodai Senga at the top. It's still to be determined who would be basically the number 2 pitcher, but you have options because now you have 5 guys because you also have Quintana, you have Luis Severino, now you have Sean Manaea, and you also added Adrian Hauser via trade from Milwaukee. So I still like to see the Mets get at least one more arm who's a little more proven, who had a quality season last year and ideally years before that, who again is more on the younger side. It obviously is a lot to ask, but I think that there still are some good trade options that are out there. Obviously, Dylan Cease is the name that comes to mind because we've heard him being available. We haven't heard if Corbin Burns is quite available, but obviously that's a guy I really would be targeting. So if they can get one of those guys via trade, that would be perfect. Put them at the top with Senga, and all of a sudden you have a really nice rotation. You could actually make a 6-man rotation, which is something that we talked about on the latest edition of the Mets Weekly podcast because one of my co-hosts mentioned that it's something that David Stearns has done every year he's been in Milwaukee. He's a big proponent of having the 6-man rotation, and you feel like it would be a good fit for Kodai Senga because that's more of the workload that he's used to when he was pitching outside of Major League Baseball. And these other guys who have these injury histories like Luis Severino, it would benefit them to be in more of a 6-man rotation where you're not requiring as much out of them and they're able to get a little more rest and hopefully really be able to last the entire season. And then from the offensive standpoint, obviously the Mets still need to add a designated hitter in my mind. I think that, you know, a guy like JD Martinez, Jorge Soler, guys like that are still very good fits. If they want to add a third baseman, they can, unless they really trust Brett Beatty. Some people are advocates for Justin Turner because he can kind of do both. I think that with his age, I would try to stay away from him. I feel like he's been on a kind of a decline, and as he gets older, that's only going to continue, whereas JD Martinez actually had a bounce back year. And I think that overall, JD Martinez is obviously the better hitter than Justin Turner. The only thing that Turner really is going for, in my opinion, is the fact that he can play some third base. But again, I don't think you're looking for a part-time third baseman. If you're going to get one, you should be looking for a full-time third baseman. I just don't think with his age, he'll be able to handle the 162 at third base, or even 140, 150, whatever you want to call it. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on the Sean Manaea signing. Be on the lookout for the big video coming out this Wednesday about the Mets prospects. Until next one, be safe, be smart, and let's go Mets. Thank you for finally signing another pitcher.